Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. My aunt grips the fishbowl with one hand and smirks. I am Alex 19 and I already know this ends badly. She lifts it a little higher like she wants me scared. I am 19 but I still move closer like a kid about to lose everything. The water sloshes near the rim and my chest tightens hard. I say her name once, sharp and loud, so maybe she pauses. She rolls her eyes and keeps walking toward the hallway bathroom. My fish bumps the glass and I feel it like a punch. This is the part where I should grab the bowl out of her hands. Instead, I step in front of her, arms out like a barrier. She stops for half a second and gives me that bored look. "Why are you doing this?" I ask, and my voice already shakes. "Because that stupid thing never shuts up and I am over it." She nudges my shoulder with her elbow and I move back without thinking. I tell her I will move the tank to my room and keep it quiet. "You had your chance." Her fingers tighten around the glass. She shifts the bowl to her hip like it weighs nothing at all. I grab the edge with both hands and we stand there, stuck in a small tug of war. The water rocks again and my fish swims hard toward my side. From the living room, my dad yells for us to knock it off already. My aunt raises her voice right back and says I am overreacting as usual. She tells him she is just trying to get rid of a noise. I look toward the hallway, waiting for him to appear, yet he stays out of sight. That is when I realize nobody plans to step in for me. She jerks the bowl toward her and my fingers slip off the rim. I almost fall forward and catch myself on the wall with my palm. By the time I turn around, she is already at the bathroom door. She flips on the light and says something about handling it like an adult, and I realize she is not bluffing. You know that feeling when everything tilts and you realize the other person is serious. I step into the bathroom ahead of her and block the toilet with my body. "Do not do this right now. I promise I will fix whatever you hate about it if you let me." She leans in close and lowers her voice like she is sharing a secret. "You care this much about a fish while I am the one paying bills." She straightens and her hand presses into my shoulder until I move. I stumble sideways and hit the sink with my hip and lose my balance. She tells me to stop being dramatic while she sets the bowl on the toilet for a second. My fish darts near the surface again and I tap the glass with shaking fingers. I swear it looks right at me and I freeze instead of grabbing it. She lifts the bowl in one quick motion and tips it over the toilet. The water rushes out in a sheet and my fish rides the current. I lunge forward and my hand splashes into the bowl as it empties. For a second I feel its tail slide against my fingers, then it is gone. She laughs in this short, ugly burst like she just threw out rotten food. My fish hits the bowl of the toilet and flips over once near the surface. I reach down and grab it without thinking and my sleeve soaks instantly. It wriggles hard in my palm and my heart jumps because it still fights. I try to drop it back into the bowl but there is no water left. Behind me her hand hits the toilet handle and I know exactly what she plans. I jerk my hand back just as the water roars down. The force drags my fingers toward the drain and sprays my face. My fish gets sucked under the rim and swirls once and then I cannot see it. I slam my palm against the handle to stop her but it is already down. I stand there with my empty wet hand hanging over the toilet like proof she won. She wipes a drop of water off her wrist and looks annoyed instead of guilty. "You are embarrassing yourself again right now. You know that was completely ridiculous today." She says it like she is correcting a kid who cried over candy. My whole arm shakes and I have to grip the sink so I do not hit something. I tell her she killed my pet and my voice cracks halfway through the word. I repeat the word pet again like proof it matters. She laughs and asks if I am really crying over a creature that fits in my hand. "It was noisy and ugly, and I did you a favor." She moves past me again and reaches for the bowl like she might throw that out too. I snatch the bowl away and set it behind me on the floor, then I grab my phone from my pocket. My hand still drips on the screen while I tap the camera open. "Say that again for the camera." My chest heaves as I stare at her and hold the phone steady anyway. She glances at the lens, then at my wet arm, and something in her smile sharpens. "You need to hear yourself sometime because you sound unhinged over nothing." That fish was cheap and annoying, and I am done listening to it bubble all night. She steps closer so the camera catches every line on her face and she looks proud of herself. You should be grateful I finally flushed that thing because maybe now you will sleep. I do not say anything back. As a small cold part of me wants her to keep talking. She flicks her hand toward the hallway and tells me to send the video to whoever I want. Nobody normal will back you up on this meltdown. Her voice echoes down the hallway like she just won an argument in court. I watch the recording stop and start again because my hands will not stay steady. I do not know yet what I will do with it, but I know this is not over. She walks away down the hall and leaves me with the toilet and the bowl and my shaking arm. I pick up the bowl again and stare at the thin ring of water clinging to the glass. My reflection stares back at me, and I look younger than I did this morning. 19 feels like 9 and my throat burns, and I cannot get any sound out. I stand there holding that empty bowl and realize she did not just kill a pet. She proved exactly how little I matter in this house and how far she will go to make a point. I already feel something hard forming under the shock, like a bruise that will not fade. I do not know the plan yet, but I know there will be one. This was the last time she destroyed something of mine and walked away smiling. I did not understand it fully in that moment, but that flush started everything that came next. Watch this right now, I say, pushing my phone toward my dad. The recording jumps straight to her grin and the sound of rushing water. He leans closer, thumb hovering near the pause icon but never pressing it. My aunt's voice comes through bright and casual like she's rating a show. He keeps watching until the clip ends, then sets the phone down like a receipt. That was a bit much from her, he finally mutters toward the table. My chest lifts for a second because I hear the word wrong. Then he adds, but you are blowing this out of proportion. The small relief snaps and I feel stupid for letting hope in. Behind him, a cabinet door closes and my aunt laughs at something unseen. I pull the phone back and rewind to the moment my hand reaches into the water. This time I mute the sound, I just watch his expression. Not hers, not the casual cruelty I already know by heart. My skin looks blotchy and my eyes dart like I am cornered. I hate seeing myself like that, but it keeps me from backing down. I nudge the phone toward my mom and say, please just watch. Her hand pauses over her plate, then she wipes her fingers and picks it up. She leans forward, rests one elbow, and narrows her eyes at the screen. My shouted words echo through the room and she flinches at the last second. When the clip cuts off, she stays silent for a beat too long. I know it looks harsh, she starts while folding her napkin into a tight strip. Your aunt can be intense, but she helps us a lot. The word helps hangs there like I am supposed to swallow it quietly. I push my chair back an inch and it scrapes across the floor loud. My aunt walks in with a fresh glass and lifts her eyebrows at the sound. Are we still crying about the aquarium incident? She asks with a bright smile. She glances at the phone near my elbow and then at my parents. What did you show them, your little horror movie edit? She steps closer, one hand on the back of my chair like it's hers. I slide the phone into my pocket before she can snatch it or hit delete. My mom finally speaks up and tells her I recorded everything. My aunt snorts and tosses her hair like that explains my reaction. So now we are documenting family drama for the internet or what? She stares at me as if I am some stranger who wandered in. I press my palm over my pocket because I do not trust her at all. My dad clears his throat and shifts in his chair like he wants out. If you keep this going, we will never eat, he tells us without meeting my eyes. It already happened, there is no point reliving it all night. He rubs his forehead and asks me to stop filming relatives without permission. For a second, I honestly cannot believe I am the one being corrected. My aunt softens her tone instantly like she just remembered an audience. I am sorry you are upset, she says with her hands lifted in pretend surrender. I just could not listen to that thing bubbling anymore, it bothered me. She looks at my parents and shrugs like we are talking about leftovers. I bite my tongue so hard I taste metal because if I speak I might scream. My mom reaches out under the table and taps my knee twice, a small warning. She leans closer and whispers, let it go for tonight. We will discuss it later, I promise we will. I nod because anything louder will explode out of me as pure anger. Inside, I know there will be no real talk later, there never is. Hours later, my door clicks shut, and the house finally goes quiet around me. I sit on the edge of my bed and open the video again. In the dark, my screen reflects off my face, and I look wrecked and small. I watch her expression frame by frame and see how pleased she is with herself. Then I rewind in. De-force myself to watch my own terror without turning away. A notification banner slides over the paused image of my face and makes me jump. It is a new message from my aunt, full of cheerful emojis and fake concern. "Hope you are done throwing your little fit," the preview reads across the top. My thumb hovers above it for a long moment while my heart drums in my ears. I finally tap it open because I want to see exactly how she spins this. Her first line says I embarrassed myself tonight and that she tried to help me. She writes that I have attachment issues and that the pet was unhealthy anyway. She claims she could have done it days ago but waited because she cares. Every sentence tries to twist what happened into some warped act of generosity. My hands start trembling again, but this time something colder sits underneath. I scroll down and she warns me not to show the clip to relatives. She calls it private family discipline and says outsiders will not understand context. She throws in a line about lawyers and privacy, just vague enough to scare me. Reading it now, I can see the bluff so clearly, it almost makes me laugh. That night, though, it just felt like one more reason to stay quiet and move on. Instead of answering, I back out of the conversation and open our older threads. I scroll past holiday greetings and straight into all the little digs I half ignored. There are remarks about how I dress and study and handle stress wrapped as advice. Lines where she jokes about me needing thicker skin and fewer feelings. Seeing them stacked together like that suddenly makes the pattern impossible to ignore. I start taking screenshots one by one, my thumb moving almost on autopilot now. Each captured message becomes a tiny square in my gallery with her name underneath. I save them to a new album and give it a plain title on purpose. Nothing dramatic, just something neutral that will not draw attention if anyone scrolls. As I organize them, my anger shifts into something sharper and more focused. For a second, I almost rename the album Evidence, then I stop myself. If she ever grabs my phone, I do not want to hand her that clue. I pick a dull label instead, something that looks like old apps or receipts. It feels sneaky and childish, and also weirdly satisfying all at once. That tiny act of caution makes everything feel bigger than one dead fish. My phone buzzes again, and another message from her slides onto the top of the screen. "If you keep holding grudges like this, people will get tired of you." She writes that my parents are stressed and that I should not add to their burden. She finishes with a heart emoji and tells me to sleep and be grateful. I stare at that sentence so long my eyes sting and the room blurs around it. Back then I almost believed her, almost agreed that I was the problem again. Now that I am writing this, I can see how she pushed every guilt button. She knew I worried about being difficult, and she used that like a tool. Remembering that part still burns worse than watching the water vanish that day. That guilt is the reason I did not sleep and kept scrolling instead. Sometime after midnight, my gallery is full of screenshots and my throat feels raw. I plug my phone in and set it face down on the nightstand without turning it off. For a while I just stare at the ceiling and listen for footsteps in the hallway. I halfway expect my door to open and her to come in with another speech. She never does, and that quiet gap hardens into the start of a plan. My aunt pulls the door open before my dad can knock. She looks straight at me first, not at him or my mom. "I am trusting you tonight," she says, one hand on the frame. "No scenes, no cameras, no more little episodes." Her eyes hold mine a second too long and my stomach flips. I step past her into the hallway and feel her gaze on my back. I tell myself I can survive a few hours without exploding. That promise already feels shaky, and I have not taken off my shoes. Behind me she moves closer and lowers her voice near my ear. "You act normal, I keep things smooth for your parents." That line lands harder than I want to admit even now. At the time it just felt like one more veiled threat. My mom laughs nervously and changes the subject to food. My aunt switches tones so fast it almost jars my neck. 1 second warning, the next she is playing friendly hostess again. She walks ahead of us and stops at a short cabinet by the wall. There is a small lock on the front, nothing fancy, still obvious. I watch her take a slim key from her pocket without even looking down. She unlocks the door, tucks a thick envelope inside and closes it again. The key disappears back into her pocket with the same smooth motion. I had seen that piece of furniture before yet never noticed the lock. Tonight it feels like she is performing a trick just for me. She glances over her shoulder and catches me staring at the handle. "This is where I keep important things safe," she says with a little smile. "Some of us have responsibilities around here." My dad nods like that explains something I missed at some meeting. He jokes about needing her brain to manage his own paperwork. My aunt swats his arm and laughs louder than necessary. While they do that, my eyes stay on the cabinet door. I do not know why yet, but it hooks my attention hard. My cousin shows up a few minutes later and heads straight for me. He bumps his shoulder into mine as he passes and mutters hi. We end up on the same couch while the adults drift toward the kitchen. From where we sit, we can see the cabinet by the wall. He follows my stare and snorts quietly like he already knows. "You clocked the vault, huh?" he whispers, leaning closer to my side. I ask what is inside and try to keep my tone casual. "Everything," he answers, a little too fast like he has rehearsed that line. He lists off deeds, bank paperwork, and letters while watching my reaction. I feel my jaw tighten and I ask why she holds all of it. He shrugs and fiddles with the edge of a cushion. "She loves control more than anything," he murmurs finally. "Grandma lets her handle all the boring legal stuff." He puts air quotes around boring and his fingers shake slightly. I notice that and something in my chest sharpens again. My aunt walks through the room just then and pauses beside us. She asks him to bring her phone from the bedroom drawer. Her nails tap the top of the cabinet twice on her way past. The sound makes him flinch, almost invisible, but I catch it. As soon as she leaves, he exhales like he had been holding breath. "She ever dangle money over you?" he asks suddenly. The question hits me sideways because I never thought of it that way. I tell him she likes to throw favors in my face afterward. He pulls his own phone out and unlocks it with jerky motions. "Let me show you how she does it with me." He opens a thread with her name and scrolls fast through messages. He stops on one where she talks about his tuition like a reward. The text says she will only keep helping if he stays respectful. Another one hints she can call the bank and stop everything instantly. He hands me the phone and I feel my throat go dry. These are not jokes or random outbursts, they are strategic little threats. I recognize the pattern even though the subject is different now. She presses on weak spots and frames it as care every single time. Looking at his screen feels like looking at my own, just with bigger stakes. I ask him why he has not shown this to anyone else yet. "Who would I show?" he asks, leaning back into the couch. "Grandma trusts her more than anyone on earth." He says it softly, no sarcasm, which somehow makes it worse. "And everyone else depends on whatever she signs." He rubs his thumb over a cracked spot on his case while speaking. In that moment, I finally connect the cabinet to the messages. It is not just storage, it is where she keeps her leverage. She has the documents and the attitude to match them. My cousin watches me process and gives a short, humorless laugh. "You thought she was bad with pets, imagine her with accounts." That line hits me like someone snapped fingers in front of my face. Until then, I had treated what she did to me as a personal feud. Suddenly, it looks more like a pattern that stretches over everybody here. I glance toward the hallway where the cabinet sits in plain view. The key in her pocket feels louder than the conversations around us. My aunt calls from the kitchen for help setting the table. My cousin rolls his eyes and gets up first, slow and stiff. As he stands, he leans down and speaks near my ear. "If she ever says you owe her, record that too." He walks away before I can answer and leaves me buzzing. While we are putting plates down, she keeps talking about bills. She mentions helping an uncle with a loan and laughs it off. Every story ends the same way, with her as the rescuer. My parents nod along and ask for advice about interest and payments. I focus on how often she uses the word depend, and it makes my skin crawl. Looking back now, that evening is where my anger changed shape. Before that, I just wanted an apology and maybe some distance. After hearing my cousin, I started thinking in terms of pressure points. If she keeps her power in that locked cabinet, it can be exposed. I was not ready yet, but the idea had started breathing. I slide the living room remote off the table and into my sleeve. My aunt is still hugging my mom at the door, loud and cheerful. My pulse pounds in my ears, but my face stays neutral. Tonight is the first time I walk into her space with a plan. If I mess this up, she keeps that cabinet and that power. She releases my mom and turns straight toward me with that practiced smile. "No drama tonight," she says, smoothing my collar like she owns me. We eat, we laugh, we move on from childish stew. FF. Her fingers pinch the fabric a little too tight and I step back. I force a smile and say, "Sure, no problem," and grip the hidden remote harder. My cousin appears behind her and catches my eye over her shoulder. He lifts his phone slightly and then taps his own pocket twice. That is our whole strategy talk right there in two tiny movements. No whispered speeches, no long instructions, just a shared understanding. We both know this might blow up the entire night. Once she walks off toward the kitchen, I move to the TV. I crouch, pretending to tie my shoe while my hand feels for the input button. I switch it to the screen that lets phones connect over Wi-Fi. The logo pops up and my heart jumps into my throat. I jab the power off again before anyone else turns around. "Alex, help him with coats," my aunt calls from the hall. The remote digs into my sleeve as I straighten and exhale. I hang jackets on hooks with one arm pressed weirdly to my side. My cousin leans in as he shakes the rain off his hair. "Got everything cued," he murmurs, just a breath near my ear. "Video first," I whisper, pretending to fuss with a hanger. Then the message screenshots in a slideshow. Saying it out loud makes my palms damp again. He sniffs once, short and nervous, then nods. "If she charges you, I am standing up with you." We drift back to the living room as relatives arrive one by one. Everyone hugs, talks, claps back, all the usual noise. I sit on the arm of the couch where I can see the screen. My phone rests in my lap with the brightness turned down low. Underneath the normal chatter, I feel the night leaning toward something sharp. At some point, my aunt sweeps into the room carrying a tray. "Phone's away tonight," she jokes, raising hers for emphasis. We are not doing one of those silent zombie meals. People laugh and start sliding their devices into pockets and bags. I pretend to follow but keep mine face down against my thigh. She sets the tray down and launches into a story about work. In the middle of her bragging, my cousin catches my eye. He shifts onto the floor near the TV stand like he wants a better view. His shoulder blocks the lower panel where the power light glows. I watch him click the switch with 2 fingers, quick and smooth. The screen lights up and every head turns for a second. "Oh, put on music," someone says, already half distracted. My aunt waves a hand like she approves that idea. "Find something soft, not that noise you kids like." It is almost funny how she unknowingly sets up her own downfall. I open my gallery and feel my thumb hover over the first thumbnail. There is my wet arm, the toilet, and her smiling face. For a moment I hesitate and wonder if this is too extreme. Then I remember the messages and my cousin's shaking fingers. I tap the icon that casts straight to the TV and sit very still. The logo disappears and my video fills the screen without any sound. For 2 seconds the room stays confused, thinking it is old footage. Then the audio kicks in and my own voice blasts out raw. "Stop, please just stop," echoes between the walls. My aunt's laugh follows, bright and clear like some twisted soundtrack. Forks stop moving, chairs scrape, conversations cut off mid-sentence. On the screen she tips the bowl and water rushes down. The sound of the flush explodes from the speakers, way too loud. Nobody says anything while my fish hits the porcelain and flips. I watch my family's faces instead of the clip, because those reactions matter now. My dad's mouth tightens, the way it does before he swears in traffic. My mom lifts a hand to her chest and stays completely still. My cousin does not blink once, he just stares at the screen. In the far corner, my grandmother leans forward slightly on her cane. My aunt is the only one looking away, already reaching for the remote. "Okay, that is enough," she snaps, moving toward the TV. I stand at the same time and block her path. Her eyes flick to my sleeve where the remote bulges. Give me that right now, she hisses under her breath. Family time does not mean public shaming time. I lift my phone instead and pause the recording right on her grin. Let everyone finish it, I say, voice shaking but loud. They should see the whole thing before you explain. For a second, I think she might actually grab my wrist. Then my grandmother speaks up and the whole room lights on her. Leave it, she orders, not raising her volume at all. That tone freezes my aunt more effectively than any shove. My grandmother's eyes stay fixed on the screen, not on anyone else. Start it over please, she adds, still calm but iron hard. My fingers tremble as I rewind to the beginning and press play. Watching it again in front of everyone hits different than in my room. The way my voice cracks, the way her mouth twists, every detail hurts. I hear my uncle mutter something under his breath at the flush. Someone else whispers wow like they just saw a car wreck. My aunt laughs nervously in real time, trying to talk over the audio version of herself. Phones catch bad angles, she says, waving at the screen. It looks worse than it actually was, we were joking. She starts telling a new story about how noisy the tank was. Nobody laughs this time, not even out of habit. The silence presses on her words until they die halfway through a sentence. That was not all, I say before I lose my nerve. There is more than one moment like that. I tap into the album and open a still image of our chat. Her message fills the TV, huge and impossible to excuse. If you keep holding grudges like this, people will get tired of you. My cousin covers his mouth but not for a cough. On the couch, my mom squints at the words like they are in another language. I swipe to the next screenshot, then the next. You embarrassed yourself tonight. You need thicker skin and fewer feelings if you want my help in the future. The room starts to buzz with whispered pieces of sentences. Is that real? From somewhere behind me, tight and disbelieving. My uncle leans forward and asks, those are actually from you. My aunt steps closer to the television like she can block the view. She throws up her arms and calls it a smear campaign. Anyone can fake text bubbles, she says, turning back toward the group. You know how kids are with editing now. I lock my phone, unlock it again, and open the chat fresh. Then I walk it straight to my grandmother and place it in her hand. Scroll yourself, I tell her, my voice barely steady but clear enough. My grandmother holds the phone low, glasses perched at the end of her nose. She does not rush, just moves her thumb in small, steady motions. My aunt keeps talking about context and stress and being overwhelmed. Nobody interrupts my grandmother while she reads, not even my father. The only sound is my aunt's words falling flatter with every sentence. My cousin lets out a short, brittle laugh and pulls out his phone too. She does it to me as well, he says into the air. He taps his own messages and holds the screen up without sending it anywhere. Threatens to cut tuition if I do not show proper gratitude. That line snaps several heads toward him like they misheard. My grandmother lifts her eyes from my screen to his. Bring it here, she says, and he obeys without hesitation. He sets his phone beside mine in her lap. She reads again, lips pressed together, shoulders rigid. My aunt starts pacing, tiny sharp steps between the coffee table and the wall. This is ridiculous, my aunt throws out, almost laughing again. I handle adult responsibilities, sometimes I use strong language. She points at the cabinet like it backs her story by existing. Everything in there is proof I keep this family afloat. Her voice cracks on a float and she swallows, realizing it. That slip is the moment I understand she is actually rattled. Until then she looked arrogant, now she looks cornered. She glances around, searching for one loyal face. My dad shifts in his seat and avoids her eyes. My mom just stares at the text still glowing in my grandmother's hands. Turn that off now, my aunt orders me, gesturing at the TV. We are not ruining a holiday over one impulsive choice. Her gaze cuts back to the cabinet, then the door, then me. She is counting exits, not feelings, and I see it clearly. For the first time, I am not scared of that calculation. My grandmother closes both phones and sets them beside her. She looks at my aunt and then at the cabinet near the wall. After dinner we are going to open that, she announces. No one argues, no one jokes, no one moves. In my chest, something unclenches and something else sharpens for what is coming next.